This webinar is brought to you by CEG, creators of the Champion System. How do you compare? Play Champions today.
Hello everybody, and thanks for being on board today. My name's Scott Tunn. I'm the CEO of Adelaide Consulting Group, and today I'll be giving you a presentation on cyber resilience at a very high level, as well as RESILIA, which is a framework, and also an understanding of what hackers are currently doing, extending a little bit further if you have read the article I've written just recently. And for those who haven't read the article, there is a link below the video which gives you access to that article in full so you can understand what has been written and some various links there as well. But today what we're going to do is we'll go into more in-depth information, some tools, some products currently being used to track your data and make you a product, and what you can do to stop that from happening. Okay, let's get into it. It's great stuff here you're about to learn, so let's go. Everyone knows what it's like to be resilient, to be able to bounce back. If you catch a cold, you don't want that cold going on for months, do you? You don't want to be able to sit there sniffling at your desk or coughing and having this wheezing that goes on for weeks or months or progresses to something worse like pneumonia. No, nobody wants that, right? So we all understand what resilience is like, to be able to bounce back from a cold and look at your colleagues and you can see them suffering. Now, I'm not smiling or laughing because of that, but it's nice to be able to, well, look, we're all going to catch cold. It's irrelevant, right? There's not going to be a time for the rest of your life you can say, hey, I'm never going to catch a cold again. You know you're going to catch a cold, right? At some stage, whether you have children or grandchildren or a friend, or you go on an airplane, that's really bad always. You catch a cold there, right? You're confined in a space and you know at some stage you're going to catch a cold. Now, with that mindset, you will do things like you'll do exercise, or you'll take vitamin C, or you'll take multivitamins, or whatever it is that you do, you have some plan of action in place. If you catch a cold, what do? You'll take some honey and lemon, or you'll put Vicks Vapor Rub on your feet, or there's many different varied types of things you can do to recover from your cold, whether it's a hot bath or some people swear by whiskey. Either way, you have some action plan, right? So why is it so different if we know there's hackers out there right now who are bidding for you, who are tracking you, it's only a matter of time before you are going to be hit by those hackers. Now, I'm not trying to scare you, it's just fact. It's no different to saying you're going to catch a cold as opposed to you're going to be hacked, because you're just a number and your number's going to come up at some stage. So we need to be resilient. We need to think in the same ways as we do when we have a cold and go, okay, it's going to happen. How am I going to bounce back? How can I get back to where I was before I was hacked? And that's what we're going to learn today, by understanding about RESILIA, about resilience, and how we can structure processes to make things be less of an impact to our business or our personal lives and get back to where we were before the hack happened. So you've heard me say the word resilience. Now, a new word which you may not have heard of is called RESILIA. Well, sometimes when I talk to people, I say, so have you done the RESILIA course, or do you know what RESILIA is? They look at me like, what the? And I say, well, you've heard of ITIL, right? And they go, yeah. And they look at me as if, what, I've got three eyes? And I said, well, if you know what ITIL is, you really should understand and get your head around RESILIA, because RESILIA is built on ITIL. And what it's focused on is cyber resilience. So as we all know, it's no longer a matter of if, but when we're going to be hacked. Now, can you imagine not having incident management, for example, in your workplace, or project management, or change management? These are all processes that we take for granted these days. We just use on a daily basis. Now, cyber resilience, we've predominantly focused that mostly on cybersecurity in the past, where we've expected the cybersecurity team to look after all the hacking and all the firewalls and all the technical stuff. Now, what we've found over time in doing research, it's not always technical. It's quite often procedural. And you'll need processes to ensure that these cyber resilience is 100% or as high as we can possibly get it, so we can be more resilient. And that comes back to the principles that we know from ITIL, such as incident, problem, change, release, configuration, and many other processes that are included as a part of the ITIL framework. So a lot of those concepts are embedded into the RESILIA framework. Now, the RESILIA framework is about protecting, detecting, and correcting, or also known as recovering. It's about getting back to where you were before the hack started. Now, what we need to understand here, you won't be learning ITIL all over again. It's actually complementary. So you understand how your thinking of cyber resilience needs to be positioned in relation to your processes you currently have in place, such as incident, problem, change, release, configuration, etc. So we need to think about it very strategically and go, okay, if I was a hacker and I wanted to get in and socially engineer this company, what would I do? What would be the pitfalls of the company? Where could I track them? How could I use them? And that comes back to applying those concepts in the various processes that we already understand. And at the end of the day, it's not really rocket science. It's quite explanatory. And as we get through this webinar, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But just keep that word in the back of your mind, just on the side there, RESILIA. If someone talked to you about RESILIA, think about resilience. Think about the cold that you're going to bounce back from. It's no different to that, whereas you're going to be bouncing back from a hack where you can quite happily stand up and say, yes, I was prepared for this and I had processes in place. That's what RESILIA is trying to teach. So what is RESILIA? Well, do you know it came out around about 2015? Now, don't feel bad, okay? I didn't hear about ITIL till about the year 2000, and it came out in 1990 or 89, roughly. But either way, it was 10 years of being out there in the environment before I discovered ITIL. So if you haven't heard of RESILIA until now, don't feel bad, because it's a new framework and it's not something that just takes up overnight. It's when new frameworks get developed, it takes a while for people to understand what they are and what they're trying to achieve. But what RESILIA is a framework that's been developed by Axelos in conjunction, in alignment with ITIL, to complement the processes and manage your cyber resilience. It's mainly focusing on training, learning, and certification. There's foundation and practitioner certifications, but you really do want to have an overall awareness organization-wide of cyber resilience. Just think about the people, the receptionists that take phone calls. They could be potentially socially engineered to gain access to your company. What hackers look for is the weakest link. Now, this is not to say that the receptionist would be the weakest link in a company. That's just an example. It could be someone on the service desk. It could be someone who works in finance. Whoever doesn't quite get that they're being socially engineered and that people are after information may be the weakest link. So just to recap, RESILIA is a framework around cyber resilience. It was brought out by Axelos, who also brought out ITIL. It complements ITIL and it focuses on the cyber resilience of an organization, ensuring that we have an organization-wide awareness and understanding of how potentially we're going to be hacked. But it also includes the processes, how to recover. The three main catch cries of RESILIA are to protect, detect, and correct. So if you've been in this space for a while, or even if it's only been for the last 3 months, you know what IT service management is. Most likely you've heard of the word ITIL, and it is a framework which people have been certified around the world in the millions. Now, the fact that IT service management and ITIL has those millions of people that agree that it's a good thing to do, to follow best practice. The fact that RESILIA is built with the minds and the concepts of IT service management and ITIL best practices embedded as a part of the actual framework goes without saying that you should be jumping on board to RESILIA, because it does actually complement hand in glove the ITIL framework. It makes it easier for you to instantly start being more cyber resilient. So the question says, how many accounts were compromised in August 2018? Well, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. The problem is, it's only the ones that get reported that we're able to identify. There's millions out there, no doubt, of individuals and organizations, smaller organizations, which are getting hacked, They don't know who to go to. They don't know who to report to. They don't know how to get out of that hack and stop it from happening again in the future. But what we're going to focus on for your little quiz here is, how many accounts do you think were compromised? Now, some of you may know the answer already, that you may have seen the links out there. There's a specific link I'll show underneath which takes you to that information. But just think about it. 1 million, 5 million, 200 million, 100 million, which one? Well, drum roll, please. $215 million data breaches in the month of August. And congratulations goes to Huazhu Hotel for winning this non-prestigious award of having more than 130 million accounts compromised from their hotel chain. But not only them that got in trouble that month, there was also a very shaky landing there for British Airways, where they had 340,000 of their credit cards from customers compromised. So if you've flown recently with British Airways, you may want to look into that. But don't forget, this is only the hacks. This is only the compromises that have been recorded. So you may still be a lucky winner. Please check your tickets. No, seriously, you should look into it, because there's only these ones that have been listed. There could be millions more, and your account could be compromised. And there's a link down the bottom, which we don't formally endorse. It's a tool that can be used to check your account to see if your password has been owned. We are not affiliated with that link in any way, shape, or form. It is a tool that has been used across many varied industries to confirm whether or not accounts have been compromised. So please use it at your own risk. Millions of individuals and smaller businesses were also compromised in that month and are not being reported. What would you do if you were compromised? How would you know you've been compromised? Where do you go? What do you do? What processes do you follow? Is there any help? Well, surely GDPR is going to help us, isn't it? It all starts with a click. Not the hot chocolate song, it started with a kiss. It starts with a click. What is the GDPR? It sets out a number of requirements who controls personal data, website owner, to lawfully process that data. So no doubt you've seen this going around on the web since it's been introduced, the GDPR, and then you go to a site and it's sort of obscured with this blocker and it says, look, we use cookies on this site. Are you okay with this? And once you click OK to use their site, you now are safe and you've got nothing to worry about, right? I mean, hang on. Why is it so important that you're forced to click on this OK so you can actually see all of their site before you can use it? I mean, this website, they're complying with GDPR, so I'm safe, right? Not quite, because what some businesses and some organizations, some websites make big money, and it's all about organizational value or data plus people. So the more data they collect, the more money they can make. Most pages you'll visit will have scripts running on them to collect the data. For example, if you're reading the news.com.au, on the front page it has 18 trackers, which does fluctuate, by the way, and that's just not only news.com.au. Go to CNN, CNBC, any of the news sites, they collect various pieces of information. Now, in the following slides, I'm going to give you some examples in a video to show you and run you through what to look for and what is happening in the background with these applications which capture these trackers and expose what the companies are collecting on you. So even though you've clicked OK to GDPR and they're compliant, it doesn't mean that they can't start selling your data to someone else and making money from it. So technically, once you click OK, you are agreeing to become a product. And the only way that you can stop being a product is to put a request in to state, I would like all of my data deleted, please. But how many times in your life have you ever gone back to a website and said, hey, please delete my data? I mean, maybe if you were on Facebook and you deleted your account, but think of all the websites you've ever visited and look at your history. How many hundreds of websites have you been in the last month? You have to go back to every one of those and say, hey, excuse me, if they are compliant, that is, I would like my data removed, please. And they would have to comply with that if they are compliant with GDPR, of which I've never seen anyone being taken to court yet for non-GDPR compliance.
Saying that you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying you don't care about freedom of speech because you have nothing to say. It's a fundamentally un-American principle, and more than just nationalism, more than just what this country is about, it's a deeply anti-social principle, because rights are not just individual, they're collective. And what may not have value to you today may have value to an entire, population, an entire people, or an entire way of life tomorrow. And if you don't stand up for it, then who will?
I'm sure this guy doesn't need an introduction. Everyone knows who Edward Snowden is and what he's done to open the eyes of those who are willing to look. The one thing here that he says that really gets me is that the freedom of speech, saying you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide, is no different to saying you don't care about the freedom of speech because you have nothing to say. I have lots to say, and I think my privacy as well as yours is very important. Not only do I think it's important, but I don't know what my children's rights are going to be like in the future if we go down this pathway of having all of our information no longer private, available to anyone and everyone, everywhere. So it's not just about us, it's about our future generations and what will be the impacts on them. So if you don't get this statement, if you are in agreement with giving away all of your data to the companies to sell and do whatever they want with, then you almost will certainly be compromised. And it's no different, if you think about it, it's no different. I mean, do you have a car or a house that you live in? Do you have locks on that house, on that car? Why do you have locks? It's because you have things in there that are yours and you don't want other people to obtain. Now, if you believe that it's the right thing to do to give away data willy-nilly to anyone, then why do you have door locks? Why do you have curtains on your windows? You should have all your windows open at any time, no matter what you're doing, so people can peer in and watch you as you go about cooking dinner or watching TV. If someone wants to come and watch you, why not? You have no problem with it, right? Surely not. I'm sure that you do have curtains and you do have locks, and your data, just because it's not a tangible product, doesn't mean it shouldn't be secret and private to you and what you do. Okay, so now what I'm going to give you is a demonstration, just in case you don't know what Ghostery is and some of the tools are, because you don't have to be some sort of cybersecurity expert to navigate the internet today and try and be less of a product. As you'll see in the document below and what I'm about to show you now, I'll show you some things such as the data being collected and who it's being shared with and how long they retain the information from and how you can stop that happening. The first one here is the website Ghostery. You can see this is the product that I've installed just to block things coming up. And this one actually comes up saying you are currently opted in. We use cookies and cookies have identification numbers, etc. You're currently opted in. Click here to opt out. So I'll click out of that. I don't know what happens here. And it says, okay, you're currently opted out. That's good. Good to know. Thank you, Ghostery. But so this is the website, ghostery.com. I'm not formally endorsing it, but I have used it for this demonstration to show you what's available out there. And I'll show you another one as well up the top right-hand corner here. But up the top, you'll see a little ghost icon. Okay, and that ghost icon will tell you what is currently being tracked. And as you'll see, I've got a number of tabs up the top here. I'm going to show you a number of different websites and stuff like that. So you've got the CNN website, for example, and I'll just reload this page. And you'll see at the top right-hand corner, there's 20 trackers on this page. And of them, you'll have different companies like Amazon, DoubleClick, Net Rating, Bing Ads, Outbrain, all this stuff. And see, if not all of them are blocked at the moment. Now, this is not a demonstration to show you how to use this tool. It's just to show you what data is being collected. So I'll just go to Outbrain. I don't know what Outbrain is. I'll click on their tracker full profile and see what it comes up with. It says, in their own words, our mission to help people discover the content that they can trust by being interesting and relevant and timely for them. Yeah. not to make money from them though. Anyway, privacy information, what do they collect? Oh, they collect all sorts of stuff here. They've got the date, time, demographics, internet service provider, IP, page views. Sometimes they have your history there as well, your actual history you've been looking at. Your name, your phone number, your email address, login, and a device ID. They share it, which means they sell it to third parties for as long as necessary to fulfill a business need. Now that's one of 22 trackers on this site. Now notice over here there's 44 trackers. Now this is called uBlock, okay, uBlock Origin, another tool I've used for this demonstration, not that I endorse it, but what it shows here is there's 44 trackers here which are used to track you and find out different information. So even though this is block 22, there's still 44 here. So if I turn this off and refresh the page, you would expect this would go up, but no, only picks up 22. Okay, and you can see the green ones here. 24 now, so it's actually picked up 2 extras. So I'll turn it back on and refresh the page, and you'll see how it changes on a regular basis. That's the CNN website. Pretty bad for trackers, and like I said, there's 22 of them there. CNBC is another bad one. Usually they have more than 5, depending on which article you click on. The more interesting the article, look at that, it's gone up to 19 on the Trump page, as opposed, if I go back when you're ready. Oh, there you go, 16 on this page now. It was only 5 a moment ago. So it depends on which articles they're putting up as well, which determine how many trackers they put in there, which is how much information. Now, you might be thinking, well, so what? They get to see my name and they get to see my financial information and my history, and what are they going to do with that? Well, the data by itself is not going to give them access to your account, but it's the combination of data. It's the linking of names to accounts that is where the damage is done. So there's this tool here called NameCheck, or namechk.com. is used for when you're setting up accounts. Let's just say you wanted to set up a Facebook account or a web domain. Now, if I look up a name such as Berta to see what comes up, you wouldn't expect the name Berta. I've just made that up on the fly. You wouldn't expect it would have come up with anything, to be honest. But there's people who've got the name Berta on Facebook, and I'll show you what I mean here. So if I click here, this is Berta. So it's Alberto. And you can see at the top here, it's got his name after the facebook.com. So if you've got a Facebook account, go there to your own account yourself, just to see what name is up here. You may have not realized what name you put there. It might have been automatically generated. But let's just see, if I go to the YouTube account, is that the same Berta? I can't tell. Okay, let's see if I go to Twitter. Is that the same Berta? Herbert Berta? Doesn't look like it. An eBay account. So I could, if let's just say you had a name that was quite obscure, such as Berta, or something even more telling of who you are, I could actually track you on each individual one of these pages if you had an eBay account and an Instagram and Twitter, because quite often people will set up the same names on the same devices and the same on different applications, etc. So it's easier for them to remember. So again, you might be thinking, well, so what? What can you do with that? Well, what I would do, I would use a program like Zapier to collect information on you. So Twitter, for example, I would use Twitter to link into a Google Sheet. And any tweets that you do, whether you are mentioned in a tweet or record a new tweet or post new tweets or anything to do with tweeting, there's 15 different zaps here to choose from. I would store them in a spreadsheet. And that would go for also other things such as your Facebook account. I'm sure there's Facebook here. Yep, Facebook here. If you had an Instagram account, any of those accounts that were back here that identified that you had, any of these social networks. I would track you using this tool. If I was a smart hacker, I would pay someone else to hack you, not do it myself. So I could go here and I can find for $90, I can get someone to hack a Gmail account. Okay, not real difficult. Although you will have to go onto the dark web to actually hire a hacker, but it's not difficult. So look at this one here, by the way, 108 blockers, 108 different companies vying for your information that I wouldn't have known had I not had that uBlock Origin as well as Ghost reinstalled. So what you need to do is you need to be in private mode as much as you can. So in Firefox, there's a tracking protection section. You can click on that and you can actually click use tracking protection to block known trackers always, and send websites a do not track signal always. And for location, camera, microphone, you can set it to block new requests. Save camera, block new requests, save microphone, block new requests, save, and anything else you want to do. So what about this? Firefox collects data. Do you want them to collect data? No, I don't want them to collect data. Should I block dangerous and deceptive content, etc.? So there's some extra options as well that you could go ahead and use, as well as if you wanted to clean up your browser, you can use something that Hillary Clinton used. I'm not sure if you remember how she deleted all those tens of thousands of emails. She used this not-for-profit open source platform or a product called BleachBit, which allows you to clean your system, and it will clean up your history, your memory, your temporary files, all that sort of stuff, to keep any sort of personal information clean on your Firefox, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Safari, etc. So it's quite a good open source tool, and if it's open source, it's usually quite a good option to do that. So that's a very brief, high-level overview of how you could be more secure. And the processes, if we were looking back at the RESILIA framework, we would have used there would have been proactive incident management. We would have used problem management, change management. We would have used potentially event management, access management. So all those processes that we know in ITIL, as well as cyber resilience and RESILIA, would have been included. And I'm sure there's much more, having if we sat down and identified and mapped out the different processes there. So just to recap, what you've just seen in the video there, you go to a website, they collect your data, and that data by itself is not going to give away everything, but it's a starting point. And they take that data and then they collaborate that data with things like name check, etc., to connect the dots and find out who you are and what you're doing and where you are and what you on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or any social media. And then once they've done that, they'll find a correct candidate that they want to follow, and then from there compromise your account, your Google account, your Gmail account, or your email account. And once you've compromised your account, they won't make it known that they've compromised it, and they'll put forwards on all your emails, so the emails will get forwarded to a certain email box. So unless you check your forwarding rules, you wouldn't be aware of it, and that would include password resets and everything. And then from there, they will just wait. They'd collect data through Twitter and all the social networks into a Google spreadsheet and just track it on a daily basis to see what your activities are. And when the time is right and the data's right, or they can make money from you, they will take advantage of that. And so this picture here is showing the free data tree. The free data tree is the gift that keeps on giving. So unless you take action, you'll be a product for life. But wait, there's more. What we've done is set up a quiz with the champion system on cyber resilience. So all you have to do is click on the link below, which will take you direct to the game, sign up an account and start playing. Now what this does, it will test you on your knowledge of RESILIA and cyber resilience. So just go to championsportal.net or click on the link below. It'll take you straight there. It'll give you 20 questions and a detailed report of your knowledge, and straight away you'll understand whether or not you have any understanding about cyber resilience. Now these questions are from the RESILIA framework, so you will get a good indication of what best practice is and what you should be understanding there. If it shows you in the report that you're deficient, then you may want to look at some training options. So the first option to get your head around cyber resilience is an awareness training, which may go for 2 to 4 hours, depending on how much you wish to take it. Format is open seminar or webinar, closed group as well. So you can have open, public, or a closed in-house session there. If you're interested in that, please click on Contact Us on the website cobitism.com.au. The next option available is the RESILIA Foundation training, which is a 3-day training, open or closed group, e-learning or online live training, where we train you via the web. Learning outcomes will be how decisions impact good or bad cyber resilience, comprehensive approach, how to make good cyber resilience an efficient part of the business and operational management, and setting a solid foundation there for acronyms knowledge, as you do with the ITIL Foundation. Now, we do go much further than that in our course as well. We give you so much more in relation to real-world experience and understanding of how things are happening in the world, what tools and processes can be used to prevent, detect, and correct. So it's not just a RESILIA course, it's more around the real-world scenarios and what you can do on a daily basis to incorporate products and processes and people to cover off on those areas that are deficient and or potential vulnerabilities. The last course available is the practitioner, which is 2 days, open group or closed as per the others, e-learning or online live. What the learning outcomes are is what effective cyber resilience looks like, the pitfalls, risks and issues that can easily hit cyber resilience, getting the best balance of risk, cost, benefits and flexibility with an organization, and real-world skills you can take back and start applying immediately. We put you through your paces in some really quite challenging exercises which will assist you in understanding cyber resilience and how to apply it in the workplace. So you're actually practicing it. You're not just doing a course where someone stands up the front and talks about some slides. You're actually doing the exercises and driven to find solutions using the best practice books. So just to recap, RESILIA teaches you best practice to better manage people, processes and technology to be more resilient from hackers. It's organization-wide learning, not just tech people. A management methodology for your information using defined processes based on ITIL, so it's not technical jargon or hardware basis, unlike some other courses out there which are quite technical. My grandmother could learn this stuff. It's not rocket science, it's common sense, as I showed you in the video. A cultural change is what we need to see. The actions and responding to recover from cybersecurity breaches is no longer in the domain of the tech heads. This is affecting normal, everyday people on the web who are just browsing to buy some stuff off eBay. Now, if it's affecting them, it's going to affect you as well. And it's only a matter of time before you're affected. So you need to understand how to manage and protect, detect, and correct your cyber resilience to get on top of it so you're not a statistic. It's no matter a case of if, but when you'll be compromised. Well, that's the end of this small webinar giving a high-level overview of cyber resilience, RESILIA framework, and the offerings of ACG and the Champion system. I hope you enjoyed it. We do have more detailed information and more detailed webinars to give. If you are interested, please contact us on the links below. For more RESILIA information, obviously the links for the RESILIA there. If you want the free quiz game or wish to quiz your staff and come up with a capability report, please click on the link there and contact. And if you would like any training or consulting in relation to RESILIA or global best practice frameworks such as ITIL or RESILIA, please contact us there. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed it.